Hey everybody, Jim Sammons here, and welcome to the Kayak Fishing Show live. As always, brought to you by Ballast Point Brewing Company. Although drinking water today. Also, of course, all of our great sponsors for the show over the years: Seagar, Jackson Kayak, Ray Marine, Kokatat, a band of anglers, Siegler Reels. Oh, did you guys see the picture I posted the other day from the guy who won a reel from Siegler Reels during one of our shows? Catching some nice Dorado on that. So that was pretty cool. Warner paddles, standard horizon, all that. Anyway, Yak Attack. I forgot to say that. Anyway, thanks for joining us. If you are new to this, every Tuesday and Thursday, we air old episodes of my show. Tuesdays are the Jackson Kayak years. Thursdays are the Ocean Kayak years, the older stuff. For instance, today's episode is from 2011. So the second season of our show. You know, we have been on the air for 11 years, and hopefully we're going to start shooting new episodes of the show very soon. Actually was on the phone with my sponsor or my producer this morning and kind of discussing what we're going to do. So the problem is my show being really travel based and going all over the world. Travel's not easy, so we may do some more domestic stuff, but it's all up in the air. Until then, we are kind of keeping it this, which is fine. Maybe give my back a chance to heal. Haven't been in fishing much myself anyway, so what the heck. And we got some people checking in. Liam Young over on Kayak Fishing Tales, our YouTube channel. Thanks for joining us. And Douglas checking in, as always, from Brazil. I do appreciate that. Man, you check in from Brazil all the time. Now I got to figure out how to get back to Brazil. Pamela Worth, how are you? Good to see you. Jason, howdy. Mike McKenna, thanks for joining us. I do appreciate it. Of course, as always, we love it if you guys bring your questions, share our videos with your friends, because that's gonna help us keep going. Today's episode is well, let me say hi to Julio Cesar Arroya Sancho. Pura vida. How are you, man? This episode is about Costa Rica. Joseph, how you doing? Hola. Anyway, so I tried to get the guys who were on this episode with me to join the show today, and it was kind of a last minute. I reached out to them a little bit late. I couldn't get a hold of them, so I haven't seen them in years. Kind of lost contact with these guys. So, but Steve Jurries, Joe Lynberg, we shot with them a couple of times. We shot with them on the east and the west coast of Costa Rica. When we show that west coast or the east coast one, it's pretty amazing. That was fishing at the Silver King Lodge, and just amazing fishing for really, really big tarpon. This episode, well, we got another person saying hello from Spain. How you doing, man? Going there or Panama 2021. Still working on it. Get somewhere. We all got to go somewhere. I actually traveled last weekend for the first time. Got to go up to Colorado and visit my daughter. No fishing, but at least I finally got out of the house. Anyway, so this episode is Costa Rica. It was our first time going down to Costa Rica to fish, and down at the Osa Peninsula, which is kind of the southernmost part of Costa Rica. Basically, you can almost see Panama right there. The place we were staying, Encanta La Vida, these were the local capuchin monkeys that would hang out around the place we were staying. We'd get woken up every morning by howler monkeys, spider monkeys. I mean, it was absolutely super, super cool place. It's right near a surf break. Encanta La Vida is not really, it's not a fishing resort by any means. I mean, they can set you up with fishing. They have a boat. We had shipped some kayaks down there. Steve Jurries lived right down the road from there, but it's more of a yoga retreat, but it has a nice little restaurant, pool, all that. Right next to some places that do eco tours. We did some really cool eco tours while on the trip. My wife came on the trip. My videographer, Will, his wife came on the trip. So we kind of combined a little vacation with the shoot. But just an awesome, awesome location. Last week in that episode was more of the inshore stuff. Today's episode is, I believe, I didn't go back and watch it, is the offshore stuff where we get some sailfish. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And it'll come up in here, but the sailfish, one of the sailfish catches we made was one of the coolest things that I've ever seen happen on the water. And we'll tell that story as we get going, but absolutely, absolutely amazing. So anyway, if you guys can, again, please shoot us some questions, share this with your friends. I really do appreciate that. You know, it's all about numbers and sponsors and all that stuff. So the more reach we can get on this stuff, the better off we are. So anyway, you know what? I totally messed up here because I have to actually hit the buttons to share the video. There we go. So with no further ado, let's run this season 2, episode 10. It's basically part 2 of our Costa Rica adventure.
Around. This is awesome.
Whoa, I actually jumped a little forward there.
This week on the Kayak Fishing Show, we're hanging with the monkeys in Costa Rica. Stick around. This is awesome.
At the forefront of any sport, you inevitably find someone pushing the limits. While kayak fishing has been exploding in popularity, Jim Sammons has been doing just that.
Yeah, look at these. Nice.
From the seat of his ocean kayak, Jim challenges the world's top game fish and puts his kayak fishing skills to the ultimate test.
Never fought a kayak, have you, fish?
From freshwater to saltwater, Jim's mission is simple: to discover the best fishing destinations in the world and prove that anything is possible from a kayak.
I got the burger in it. Oh, yeah.
The Kayak Fishing Show is brought to you in part by Ocean Kayak, makers of the Trident series of fishing kayaks. Ex Officio, clothing, footwear, and gear for the adventurous spirit. Standard Horizon, nothing takes to the water like Standard Horizon. Maui Jim, eliminate glare, turn up the color. Scotty, the way to fish. Seagar, the inventors of fluorocarbon. And Yakima rack systems and trailers. Take it easy. This week on the Kayak Fishing Show, Jim is staying at the remote and luxurious Encanta Vida Lodge while he continues his hunt for saltwater monsters on Costa Rica's Osa Peninsula.
Yes, that's me surfing.
Flew into San Jose and spent the night in San Jose. Took a quick hop the next early morning. It's about an hour flight in a smaller plane. If you are coming down here, you do need to be very aware of the amount of luggage you're carrying because there are restrictions on that.
Last week, Jim met up with superstar guides Steve Jurries and Joe Lynberg. Super Steve Jurries is a native of Michigan, has always loved the water and fishing. After moving to Costa Rica and starting his eco-architecture business, kayak fishing just seemed to take over most of his spare time.
Probably about 6 years ago, I started kayak fishing and I've just really enjoyed it. Escalated in my equipment and my understanding of the waters here, and it's just turned into a really fun thing I love to do. A couple times a week I get out. I saw a picture of Jim's with a little rooster. And I say little, like this. And I gave him a little bit of shit, sent him a picture and said, you ought to come down to Costa Rica one of these days.
He just figured it out. Joe Lynberg runs kayak fishing trips through his adventure travel company, Osa Kayak Fishing, and he's promised Jim that he would show him everything the west coast of Costa Rica has to offer.
I just enjoy the idea of kayak fishing. For me, working in tourism, it's kind of an eco tour and a fishing tour in one, instead of just having a fishing tour where you're sitting on the boat. There's a big backpacker influx of tourism, and it's a niche area. You really need to find your niche, and kayak fishing is something that's big and exploding versus $1,000 charter on one of these boats. We can do a little bit more comfortable price and maybe get more people fishing that come into town asking to fish, and where they hear their outrageous price, they're a lot less likely to fish.
The guys started by targeting rooster fish along the beaches, and they quickly hooked themselves into some top quality fish.
First day of fishing, a lot of boats there in the beginning. Few little rooster fish. Steve had a great rooster fish that day.
Third day, I believe, we went to the other side of the Gulf here, to a place called Pavones. There's some really nice rock structure over there, and we started getting onto some fish, some little tunas, I think a jack or two, and the Sierra mackerel were going crazy over there, just biting us off left and right. We lost so many bait fish.
For a change of pace, the guys headed out on an eco tour with everyday adventures, where they saw a very different and very elevated side of Costa Rica. So far, Jim's Costa Rican experience has been nothing short of incredible. But Jim didn't come to the Osa Peninsula to jump out of trees and play with monkeys. He came because he heard that there were sailfish here. And when it comes to catching big billfish from a kayak, Jim's the man.
So yeah, like I said, there's so much to do there. Like I said, you saw us rappelling down the waterfall. It was in the last episode, I believe. We climbed this really big tree, and then they had lines set up at the top, and then you jumped out of the top of the tree, which was really exciting, really, really fun. I'm not a real fan of heights, so climbing it, I mean, it's weird. I love jumping out of things. I was a diver when I was young. I like jumping off of stuff, but the actual climb up, I hate it. But like I said, there's just so much to do in Costa Rica and so much wildlife. Like I said, they actually would hang bananas outside the resort, and all the monkeys would come down to there and that's what we saw at the very, very beginning. But even if they didn't do that, like I said, every morning you were getting woken up by the scream of howler monkeys, or the monkeys going over the top and dropping branches and sticks down onto the roof of the place we were staying. But very, very cool. And like I said, at the very beginning there, I was surfing. I grew up surfing here in San Diego. Excuse me. But hadn't surfed in quite a few years. And boy, it sure is nice to go surfing someplace where the water's really nice and warm. So I couldn't resist and went out surfing, caught a few waves, and just to remember that I could still stand up on a surfboard. But like I said, just so much to do there. You'd never regret going.
That actually dissipates heat to provide a cooling effect. Check the
Let it roll.
cool shirts out at exofficio.com. This week, Jim is on a dream kayak fishing trip in Costa Rica at the remote beachfront lodge in Encanta, Vida. So far, the trip has been filled with fish and adventure, but today is extra special for Jim as he gets to take Encanta Vida owner and avid fisherman Brian Daly kayak fishing for the first time.
There's a lot of little pinnacles there. I got a lot of marks right through there.
Although Brian has never had a rod out in his kayak before, he fishes these waters almost daily and knows exactly where the fish hold. He decides to take the boys to one of his favorite spots called Montepalo, which features exposed rock and submerged pins that offer tempting shelter for big roosters. The trip doesn't take long, as Montepalo just happens to be right out front of the lodge.
Whoa! good sized fish.
He's pulling you, dude.
This is Matapalo, the tip of the Ocean Peninsula. Very Cape, Cabo Matapalo. It's some pinnacles out here. It comes out of 100 feet and it comes up to 20 feet. You get a little bit of current out here sometimes, but today doesn't look too bad. Let's see if we can't get one of these big snappers or amberjacks to grab a hold of this bait here.
A blue trevally. First time I've caught one of these since Panama. They've got really beautiful blue violet fins.
Brian was a career commercial fisherman until the mid-'80s when his lust for adventure and good surfing brought him to the Osa Peninsula. Within a few short years, Brian opened Encanta Vida to share his personal paradise with close friends. Since that time, the remote jungle lodge has blossomed into the ultimate tropical destination. With first-class amenities and gourmet meals, Encanta Vida is the ideal base for any adventure traveler interested in exploring one of the few untouched regions of the country.
Oh, I came down here years ago. There weren't even any roads coming down here. I had to ford the rivers, and there's no cars in town. And it's just quite a place. It was sealed off completely. It was just a gold mining town. And nowadays and stuff has changed, but it's one of the most wild places around. We're on the very tip of the southernmost peninsula in Costa Rica. And it's just incredible, the wildlife and the surroundings, and the development of this area is just completely like non-existent.
It's almost like if you come here, you're in your own little element, right? How many actual rooms are there here? I haven't even seen them all.
But yeah, the jungle, everything just grows around here. It's just incredible. So every cabin and stuff just has its own little jungle area. It's got its own toucans, its own monkeys. You just sit in your hammock and watch the wild.
There's plenty to do for the wives. We have a yoga deck here where you're welcome to go do your own yoga practice. You can also hire a private yoga instructor if you'd like. There's also a spa located on the yoga deck. You can have facials, body scrubs. We can set up a manicure, a pedicure, whatever you're interested in. There's massage therapists on site. So whenever you'd like a massage, we can set that up too.
You know, and he was out there helping us with anything. The guy just went over and above. And not just him, but his entire staff. You can tell it wasn't just something special for us, you know. We watched them treat all their guests this way. They were working hard, super, super friendly people, and just, you know, taking care of business, but making business fun. You want to come down here, they're going to make whatever you want happen.
The guys get up early the next day, filled with anticipation. Today, the guys hope to push their kayak fishing skills to the limit. Today, they're on the hunt for billfish.
Just getting ready, heading out. Gonna go offshore today. The bite's been good in the afternoon. Right after 12, 6 miles out, some dorado, some sailfish. Let's see what we can do.
Brian has set the boys up with his friends on the Alpha Mike. Captain Louise is at the wheel, and he has a reputation to keep. These guys never come back without catching a few billfish.
Right here, coming right under us.
Yeah, nice sail. That's pretty.
It's not long before Captain Louise throttles down, and it's time to launch the kayaks.
So we jumped on the Alpha Mike today to take us a few miles offshore. There's been some sailfish being caught, so we wanted to give the big fish a try. That's the stuff I really like to do. So we're gonna try some sail fishing off of the Osa Peninsula. Costa Rica, man, gonna go get us some sails.
It's been a few hours, and the tropical sun is burning the paddlers up. They're about to give up and stop for lunch when a gull decides to start picking off the bait.
The sailfish came through, picked off Joe, then it picked off me. Frigate comes up, grabs his bait, lifts it in the air, and like drops it on the sail's head for him. Look at it, go straight up.
I just realized my mic was muted. Anyway, I was drinking some ice water and I didn't want it making noise before. So anyway, I'll go back to what happened there. We were trolling 3 abreast, Steve, Joe, and I, trolling live baits. I got hit, Joe got hit, and we both just got cleaned off. Baits got stolen. And then Steve's bait, his clicker is on his reel, starts going off, or it got hit. I don't remember exactly if he was using a conventional reel, but anyway, and we look over and this frigate that had been flying behind us had swooped down and grabbed his bait. So it grabbed the bait, flew up, and when the line came tight, it yanked the bait out of the frigate's mouth. And I swear it literally fell right into the mouth of a sailfish, because as soon as his bait hit the water, he was hooked up. It was absolutely crazy. one of the nuttiest things I've ever seen happen on the water. So while I'll have it paused, I'll answer a couple questions here. I know there was 1 or 2. Well, Gene Wilson, thank you for joining us. Julio asking what type of lure we were using. You're from Costa Rica, haven't fished much to the south side. Well, live bait, if we would catch live bait was ideal. So we'd use sabikis to catch the live bait. That's always going to be the best. But even you can catch small reef fish and then use that as live bait. So any, trolling plugs, rapalas, that sort of thing, poppers, stick baits, and definitely bring vertical jigs, some heavy vertical jigs. So when you are working around and you see some good structure, because vertical jigging works so well for, the grouper, snapper, cubera, all that sort of thing. So definitely you want to have that variety. And once again, apologize for the messing up on my sound there for a minute. Gene Wilson, I knew this would get you for the wives. I'd be out fishing with the crew for sure. And I think that's an attitude at a lot of places. And it always kind of catches my attention when it is said. And maybe more so when, like I said, this was 10, 11 years ago. It's always, stuff for the wives to do while the guys go fishing it. And I guess it is true to an extent. But the women are always welcome to go fishing with me. And it's always a great time to have the ladies out there fishing too. My wife loves to fish. My wife always goes out, whether she fishes or not. She's always out on the boats with us, and because she loves to be on the water. So, Serge from Ottawa, how you doing, man? Thanks for joining us. And there was a couple more. Gene, got to credit the frigate bird on that catch. Yeah, it was very wild. Like I said, I'd never seen anything like that happen. And it wasn't like the bait hit the water and then a little bit later, it was that bait hit the water and he was hooked up. It was nuts. So anyway, let's let it roll and we'll see this catch.
This
is what we do. We want to put a little more pressure on them than you can from the kayak. Make them tow one of the kayaks sideways.
Another one jumped also, so we've had quite a bit of sailfish action right here.
Yeah.
Since we've been gotten hooked
The
up.
sailfish that was jumping in that video was not the one he was hooked up to. That one is.
After 20 tense minutes, the sailfish spits the hook, but spirits are still high as the sailfish are definitely here.
It wasn't pulling too hard. I was being pretty mellow. I didn't want him on the boat too early. And I'd say, 20 minutes into it, it broke off. But I had my heart pounding. That was exciting, and I want to get back out and get another one on.
It's just a matter of time before the guys will get their next chance. Stay tuned as the sails start biting and the adrenaline starts running.
One for the fish.
The Kayak Fishing Show is brought to you in part by Ocean Kayak, Ex Officio, Standard Horizon, Maui.
And these are big Pacific sailfish. They're not Atlantic sailfish. So, I mean, these things were 130 pounds plus. It's the biggest sailfish I've ever seen. It was pretty incredible to see.
Kayak Fishing Show. This episode was brought to you in part by Yakima and their Rack and Roll Trailer. For more information about the Rack and Roll Trailer, visit www.yakima.com. This week, Jim is in Costa Rica on the ultimate kayak fishing adventure. Jim's targeting sailfish from his kayak with his good buddies Steve Jurries and Joe Lynberg.
Just sitting here. The fish are a little bit spooky. They're coming up a little bit slow and lazy. Like I said, the bite's been a little bit later in the day. Maybe we can tease one up here. Maybe we're going to have to wait till after lunch for them to eat.
We've seen a lot of free jumping fish around, so we're hoping one decides to free jump onto our line.
Super Steve lives up to his name and hooks yet another billfish.
Yeah, be careful, man. Be careful.
That's a big sailfish right there.
Man, they act so freaking weird.
Another one of these bad boy sails. Looks like a little bit bigger than the last one. A few nice jumps out of it. He hasn't done a lot of them. He's not tired yet, and I don't want him in my boat yet.
After some urging from the crew, Joe gets his bait back in the water and takes a big risk. With careful guidance, he slowly starts paddling in front of a watching sail.
Oh, look at that. He's eating it right in front of him.
With Jim's steady guidance, the boys have 2 sails on their lines. The biggest sails Jim has ever seen hooked on kayaks. Lines have crossed and with luck, parted ways, but the fight has only just begun.
On my left shoulder, I jump every time I see myself in the mirror. Well, gimme my middle name. And one part Judas and another part Cain. First step I took led me to the wrong side of town. I'm the only rotten tooth in my family's mouth. I'm the only rotten tooth in my family's mouth.
Well, yeah, the fact that we were out there paddling our own kayaks, not getting hooked up off the boat and getting into the kayak, but out there huffing it in some pretty stiff breeze and chop out there.
Shoulder and a monkey on my back. I'm the only regret my daddy has. Every step I take, it lands on the crack.
And look at the size of that sailfish. These are not small sailfish.
Jim helped me land them, pulled up next to me. We both pulled the thing over our boats, got a couple pictures, and then back in the water. We actually tied the bow line to the boat so we could revive the fish a little bit quicker, move quicker, and boom, nice little release there. But yeah, the whole package right off the kayak is a beautiful thing.
Although Steve's fish is landed and released, there's no time for Jim to rest. Joe is barely holding on to his sailfish.
Once the boat had taken off, was for me, it wasn't any fighting time, but it was the coolest time for me because I couldn't even hear the rumble of the motor anymore. Just a little bit of breeze. Every once in a while he'd go down and up and down and up, but it just, I don't even know how to explain it. Feel really small out there in the middle of the ocean.
Black clouds fill the sky wherever I travel. And my footsteps, they sound like a judge's gavel. Well, hell spit me out, heaven don't want me. 'Cause I'm mean as a rattlesnake and twice as ugly. Cough is upon my stone when they lay me down. I'm only riding to them a family's mouth. I'm only riding to them a family's mouth. Take more than pliers just to
We took the safety precautions, made sure we were keeping an eye out on one guy. We ended up with a double hookup because Joe went off and did hook one, but we could have had a lot of fish if we actually tried.
only riding to them a family's mouth.
God.
Of course, catching billfish is no easy task. In fact, it can be very dangerous and should only be attempted with professional guidance and a strong arm. But there are a few tips and tricks about landing billfish that Jim Sammons is going to share with you in this week's kayak fishing tip, brought to you by Ocean Kayak, makers of the Trident series of kayaks and the Torque, featuring a Minn Kota motor.
Needless to say, catching billfish is not for everyone and takes years of experience to tackle. It's also a very good idea to have that support boat with you, not only for your own safety, but to help to revive that fish at the end of the fight. Now, over the years, I've been involved in the landing of 25 billfish from a kayak, and I've learned a lot of lessons. Some of them.
Pause. So yeah, I've actually landed, it's been quite a while since I've landed a billfish off a kayak, but I've actually landed 48 billfish off a kayak. So quite a few of them. Most of them have been striped marlin. That one that's showing right there, that's a blue marlin down in Baja. We've hooked a couple of blacks, but mainly stripers and some sails. So got a lot of experience, but they're a handful every single time. Because neither of those guys, Steve or Joe, had ever landed a billfish off a kayak. That's why I stopped fishing to assist them. We did the deal where I would kind of put my kayak, sideways at the back of their boat, and then put more pressure on the fish that way to land them a little bit faster. And then just it really is so much easier as a two-person job when the billfish get this big. Having one person leadering the fish and grabbing the bill of the fish and then pulling it over your lap, get that quick hero shot, and then get it back in the water and quick release it. So Alan says, so cool, quite the double header. Yeah. That's the second time. Actually, in this one that's showing right there with a blue marlin, we were actually hooked up to a striped marlin at the same time as well. That was one of our very first shoots, maybe our second or third shoot, and that was down in the East Cape, Southern Baja, where I used to guide. So anyway, let's listen to the kayak fishing tip of the week.
And the hard way. Probably the most important thing I can tell you about fighting billfish off the kayak is that before bringing that fish in close to the kayak, you gotta make sure it's tired. The last thing you want is a hot, fired up fish right next to your boat. Still, it's not unusual for the fish to get in a couple last jumps right next to the kayak, so extreme caution should be taken as you get the fish close to the boat. A good indication that the fish is tired enough to land is that it will often start doing large circles under your kayak. The best time to try landing the fish is when it is circling forwards in the same direction as your kayak. The landing process is usually best done by two people, preferably by someone who has some experience. When I'm guiding clients, it's my job to slide in there and do the leadering of the fish and help to land it. As the leader man, I place my kayak between the angler and the fish so that the leader is going over my kayak and is easy for me to grab. You want to do this when the fish is pointing the same direction as your kayak, so that if it bolts, the line gets taken away from you. Now, with leader in hand and cutaway tool at the ready, I slowly pull the fish towards the surface and to the side of my kayak. Once you've committed to grabbing the bill, you need to hold on to it with everything you've got, because the fish may start to thrash violently. I also like to grab and control the lower jaw of the fish, because even though it is shorter, it's still very sharp and a dangerous weapon that you need to be aware of. Once that fish has stopped thrashing, your best option might be just to leave the fish in the water, cut the line, and let that thing go. But if you feel confident that you can land the fish safely, here's how to do it. As I control the bill and the lower jaw of the fish, I have the angler reach across my kayak and also grab the bill so that we can both pull it up onto our laps. Once there, we'll remove the hook or cut the line if need be. Get a quick photo, then get that fish back in the water. The key is never lose control of the fish's bill. The truth of the matter is that it takes a lot longer to land a billfish off a kayak than it does off of a power boat, and extreme care should be taken to revive that fish healthy. This is where having a support boat can really come in handy. Once I have the fish back in the water, I'll toss the support boat my bow line so they can tow me while I'm holding that fish upright. This will get oxygen to run over its gills, and we can take our time to revive the fish healthy. You'll know when the fish is ready to be released because you'll feel it start to strengthen and start to move from side to side. Fighting a marlin off a kayak is just plain extreme. Landing that fish is mind-blowing. But the best part of catching a marlin is watching that thing swim away healthy at the end of the fight. Until next time, I'm Jim Sammons, and that's your extreme kayak fishing tip of the week.
For more tips and your chance to win a fantastic kayak fishing package that includes an Ocean Kayak Trident fishing kayak and ex officio clothing, visit kayakfishingshow.com.
I put in an awful lot of miles when I'm out on the water, and that's why I want to use the best paddle available. And for me, the best paddle is the Werner Callista carbon fiber paddle. The mid-sized blade offers gentle power and a smooth, easy stroke. The Performance Core blades are buoyant, lightweight, and have a quiet, easy feel in the water. You can see all of Werner's great paddles at wernerpaddles.com.
For Jim, it's once again time to head home. After an awesome week full of great friends, fun, and fishing.
I say it's been just off the charts fun.
Tune in next week as we change gears and take a trip to Mazatlan, Mexico with bass fishing legend Billy Chapman Jr. at his exclusive Anglers Inn Lodge on Lake Mateos in search of record largemouth bass.
So yeah, that wraps up that episode. Like I said, catching those billfish down in Costa Rica, just there's nothing like it. Still, the most exciting thing you can catch off a kayak is a marlin or a sailfish. Particularly, like I said, when they're that big. The sailfish. The thing about sailfish is because their body is narrow. Sometimes it's really easy to get them to the kayak too fast. And all of a sudden you have just a green fish going nuts right next to your boat. So you have to be really, really careful with those fish because, unlike a tarpon, which, I love catching tarpon as well, tarpon don't have a 3-foot spear on the end of their face. I've had situations where I was holding onto the bill and just a bit on a big marlin and it just thrashed and just slammed me. The bill went right across the front of my face. Slammed me and knocked me into my my buddy that I was fishing with, that I was helping him land the fish. Just nailed me into him and basically hitting him kept me from going in the water. I've had him go over the back of my kayak. I had one, probably the sketchiest one was when I'm landing a marlin, I like the fish doing circles next to the boat, so it's coming forward as it's going along the side of my kayak. Well, I got it a bit in a hurry, and I had this one that was going the wrong direction. And so it was coming towards me, and I grabbed the bill. Well, the problem there is the bill is now this way, and you have to pivot the fish back forward. And I got that one that was actually the one that almost hit me in the face. I got it to right here, and now it's like straight up, and it just goes bam and just slammed. And we saw it in slow motion, this bill like right across the front of my face. So that was probably one of the sketchier landings of a striped marlin I ever had to deal with. But I said, they're exciting every time. They're scary every time. The cool thing is, I have seen guys catching marlin off the kayaks and fish for marlin, and they use really big gear. And I honestly, I don't understand why. Most of the marlin that we have caught off the kayaks have been on relatively small reels. I mean, I think my first one was on an old Shimano Charter Special, a Trinidad 12. I mean, you don't, because the thing is, the kayaks, particularly the kayaks I was using were the narrow, longer, faster boats, and they get moving through the water so much easier that you never really give them that much line. Now, if you get a big fish and it sounds on you, then you maybe need a bit more line capacity. But, with the braided lines, you can put an awful lot of line on a small reel, and you just don't need that. The bigger the equipment you're using isn't necessarily harder on the fish. A lot of times it's harder on you. So if you get a rod that's maybe a little bit more parabolic, brings the fight in closer to your body, you're using a nice light aluminum, good quality. That's the main thing, is have a good quality reel, really smooth drags, nice lever drag reel. Is my favorite way to go. But like I said, I mean, I've landed 100-pound tuna on the Siegler SGN, small game narrow. I mean, it's a tiny little reel. So you go up to the SG, which will hold a lot more line, or even their LG or LGN, large game narrow. They're so much more comfortable to fish with, and they're so light. You just don't need to jump into these really, really big reels that I see some guys use, because like I said, I think that wears you out more than it wears the fish out. You're not really putting any more pressure on it. You can't pull any harder because the kayak is just moving. You physically can't pull harder. And we've had where a black marlin, we were in Panama, and my friend Craig hooked up to a black marlin, and within minutes of the fight, he's like, it was a big black marlin. He goes, Jim, this fish isn't even fighting me. It's just swimming. He goes, I can wind myself to the fish anytime I want. The problem was, if he wound himself to the fish, then he's got a green black marlin that was about 300 pounds. And, you try to deal with that kind of fish, you're in trouble. So that one, actually, what we had to do was, it was getting late. He was on the fish for a long time, and it just wouldn't fight him other than just swimming. So we ended up, because we had to jump on the boat and get back to the mothership. We ended up tying him to the camera boat. And now all of a sudden there was this extra weight of that camera boat. The marlin jumped like 3 times and straightened the hook. So I said, because you're in that kayak, you're just never putting as much pressure on the fish as you think you are. So always be aware of that. Don't think you need that giant gear, because it's just going to beat you up. So not seeing any more questions or comments on here. So I'm going to wrap this one up a little bit early, because I got to go pick up my wife's car. So until next time, again, we'll be back next Tuesday with more episodes of the Kayak Fishing Show live. If you are going out on the water this weekend, please always remember to wear your PFD and keep your paddle right side up. Y'all take care.
fishing. I'm going fishing.